Be very, very quiet. Elmer Fudd is hunting rabbits. It's the Medicare for the Lazy Man podcast. The Medicare podcast that happily supported Brexit. Hanging and banging, it's Medicare expert Doug Jones.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the 900th episode of the Medicare for the Lazy Man podcast. This is your expert, Doug Jones, as you may have been told by my Canadian nephew, Drew McMillan. If so, then I apologize for the redundancy, but I am so happy to be here. It's been a long stroll through the Medicare world for this podcaster, and it is arriving at episode 900 is really, it doesn't feel any different than 899. So let's get started here. Why am I here? Why am I talking to you today? Well, I'm hoping to ease your concern about any transition to Medicare that you might have coming up. Because frankly, the fact that nobody else is going to tell you, only I will tell you this, is that your Medicare transition can be very simply decided upon. There is no reason for confusion or trepidation. The decisions are few and they're very simple in almost every case. I can't think of really any reason why somebody at age 65 can't address their Medicare decisions and have them put behind them in very short order without any angst or trepidation. Now, I can't chit-chat with everybody on a one-on-one basis. There just isn't enough time in the world. So what can I do? Well, I've written a book called Medicare for the Lazy Man, and it's really designed for lazy ladies as well. More than half of my clients are women who read my book and understand that Medicare is nothing to be feared. And I want you to have that opportunity also. So go to Amazon and purchase Medicare for the Lazy Man 2026. Be sure and put that year in there, because otherwise you might wind up with an older, somewhat out-of-date version of my book. Now, that won't lead you astray, but it's just not the brand new, squeaky, straight out of the showroom, new car smell or new book smell version. So if you want the cutting-edge version, get the Medicare for the Lazy Man 2026, which is available in paperback for $11, very reasonable price. It's available in Kindle version for about $4 and change. It's available in hardcover, a magnificent creation, suitable for the Library of Congress or any library anywhere, and that's only a $25 item. And then I'm going to be massaging the files for my audio book, and that will be available also. I don't know how much they forced people to pay for that. I think it's $6 and change, but I'm not 100% sure, because they don't ask me what I think they should be charged. They only, they slap a price tag on it, and people have to live with it. But I think an Audible book is a fairly reasonable expense. Now, I've got two other guides for you Medicare aficionados available on Amazon. One is the Medicare Drug Plan DIY, a very simple guide, a simple DIY guide. That's what it is. And what you want to do with that book is use it to learn how to use the government website to perform a scientific search that will result in you getting the best Medicare drug plan at the cheapest possible cost. That's the whole point of that book. For a $10 expenditure, you can save so much money instead of flailing around like too many people do without adequate knowledge as to how to use the government website to your advantage. So Medicare Drug Plans, a simple DIY guide, is on sale at Amazon.com, and it has all the same variations, the same additions too. It's got a Kindle version. It's a lot less money. It's got but I think it's harder to use. I think you'd be better off with the paperback version. It's also got an Audible version wherein I talk everyone through it. Everybody that gets the Audible version of that book gets a step-by-step tutorial as to how to use the government website to select their own Medicare drug plans. And then, of course, we have the book that's being rewritten right now. The most powerful book in Medicare is going to be even more powerful. It used to be called Medicare Bare Bones, but I'm going to put a more descriptive title on it, Medicare Enrollment Guide. It's so short that many companies will refuse to promote it or to sell it. So Amazon will sell the book. They'll sell the paperback version for $4.60. They will sell the Kindle version for $1, but I will give it away for free. So anybody who writes me and asks for a copy of the Medicare for the Lazy Man Enrollment Guide, I will send a photocopy of each page of that book to them attached to an email free of charge. And what that book does is it tells you exactly how to enroll in Medicare. It dispenses with all of the superfluous Medicare information that you might have been subjected to. And it's about $20 or 20 pages tutorial to get you signed up for Medicare, signed up for your Medicare supplement, and signed up for your drug plan. It will guide you through that process. You will be completely finished with Medicare in a 20-page tutorial. This is why I call it the most powerful book in Medicare. And I believe that makes us the most powerful podcast in Medicare. What do you say about that, Randy?
I absolutely agree with you, Doug. Well, okay, you know me. I like to be warm. I don't like to be cold. And I was looking at my all my control panels here on my desk, and it's only 67 degrees out today, and that's almost Arizona freezing.
That is pretty chilly. That's the predicted high, or that's what it is right now?
Well, that's what it is right now, yeah.
Okay, because we're coming up on noon on this particular day in the new year. And you know that the high temperature always occurs around what, 3 or 4 in the afternoon?
Right.
So
If you're
there's
talking
hope.
about if you're talking about temperature.
Well, okay. All right. Let's assume that we're talking about temperature and remove the doubt. But you're going to get probably a warmer temperature in a few hours. So it
Yeah.
may not, there may be no reason for despair right now.
Well, there's a couple. Yeah, I agree with you, but I would rather it be 112 degrees in the shade than cool. I don't know
Yeah.
why that is, because I moved out here from the hinterlands of Nebraska because I wanted to be warm.
Well, let's ask a question to ourselves. We don't have to ask it out loud, but the question we should ask silently inside our little heads is, how many of the listening audience are laughing or angry for having us whine and complain about 67 degrees when they're sitting in like
Well,
vicious snowstorms
uh,
and winter
I I
freezing?
know, I know. I was watching the news before we got on the recording session, and this is the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. Apparently, they've got about 14 feet of snow, and they're trying to find their way out, and blowing wind. And I'm sure that the people in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan don't care.
No, they have known it was coming, and they just stock in, whatever booze they like to drink, and they huddle
That's
into
right.
their hooches for the rest of the winter. And frankly, I've been up there. I've driven the old Corvette all over the UP, and the only thing that I really like in the UP is the Oopers, which is the musical group that sings songs making fun of the UP.
Yeah,
So if you ever
yeah.
have a chance to go to some musical, venue, some downloadable music place, and search for the Oopers, and I think you might find some entertaining UP humor in their music.
Well, cool. Well, the reason I'm particularly interested in Michigan, we've got some great friends out there that we met years ago, and they come out and visit us every year. And they don't live in the Upper Peninsula, but bottom line is they're in Michigan. And as far as I'm concerned,
Yep.
anything in Michigan is cold. And you've probably heard the Michigan joke, right?
Which is
There's two seasons in Michigan.
okay.
There's winter and Fourth of July.
Okay. All right. Well, that's probably not as accurate in the Detroit area. farther south and the farther east. Oh, you know where it's really not accurate is along Lake Michigan. The western shore of the state of Michigan is along Lake Michigan, and
Yeah.
that they grow apples and all kinds of exotic things there that you wouldn't expect in that latitude. And the
Yeah.
reason for that is when the wind comes across from Illinois, it blows across the lake, which is substantially warmer than the ground covered with snow and ice would be. And so they actually get warmer weather on the western shore of Michigan. The
So,
western side of Michigan is the eastern side of Lake Michigan. And until the lake freezes over, when the lake freezes over, boy, they better run for the hills because then there's no protection.
so what you're telling me, Doug, is there's a lot of hot air in Illinois.
Oh boy. And that was the reason for the Windy City. You have hit on the exact origin of the name Windy City. It was a New York newspaper that dubbed Chicago the Windy City, and didn't have anything to do with the wind. It had to do only with the loudmouth politicians that
Well,
Chicago is known for.
they absolutely hit it. Well, I've got just one more comment that I want to
I'm hoping
make.
it's a short one because we have a New Year's
Oh, we
resolution, Bill.
do. I just want to say Happy New Year to Stalker Susie.
Oh yeah, our favorite listener lately. I mean, we have others that we like very much, and they contribute to the show. But Stalker Susie actually has the most. She's listed the most suggestions and the pithiest suggestions. So she
Yeah.
wins in two categories.
We might even want to consider putting Stalker Susie on staff.
Well, I'll tell you what. If Stalker Susie wanted to send us a recording periodically, hopefully related to Medicare in some way, I mean, that's a long shot, but it's
We don't even have any Medicare
yeah, I
information.
know it's getting hard to find those little Medicare nuggets within our podcast episodes. But I would certainly accept a recorded chunk from anybody who wants to send in something that we can, because that allows us to take a little breather in the middle of an episode if we
Yeah,
play somebody else's content.
just don't make me have to edit a lot of stuff out of it.
That's right. If you use a lot of nasty poo-poo words, it's going to affect our ratings in the whatever service we
And
use.
Lord knows we wouldn't want to do that.
No, so we conserve our nasty poo-poo word usage for off-air.
Well, I'm going
All
to go
right,
ahead and mute out,
please
and
do.
I'm going to let you start making money.
You goddamn bastard. Oh, I'm sorry. All right, here we go. United Health under criminal investigation for alleged Medicare Advantage fraud. This is our Medicare Advantage minute, and Randy's going, so what else is new, Jones? Get something new for a change. We've heard this a million times. But
Why don't you put up something we don't know, or something that's new, or something that's not true?
do you remember when President Trump was first elected, and the we heard the story about the guy who walking down the street, he walks up to a guard outside the White House, and he goes, "I'd like to go see President Biden. I'd like to go inside and see President Biden." And the guard says, "Well, President Biden is gone. President Trump is now living here." And the guy goes, "Oh, okay, thank you," and he walks away. Next day, he shows up again. "I'd like to go see President Biden." The guard says, "Well, President Biden is gone. President Trump is now in the White House." And the guy goes, "Oh, okay." And third day he comes back and he says, "I'd like to see President Biden." And the guy goes, "I told you 3 times, President Biden is gone. President Trump is now in the White House. What is your problem?" And the guy goes, "Oh, I understand all of that. I just like hearing you say it." And so
Oh my gosh.
when I read a headline, and I've got this in really big print, United Health under criminal investigation for alleged Medicare Advantage fraud, quote, Wall Street Journal.
Can you say that just one more time for me?
What you've got it recorded. Let's just put it on the end of every
Okay,
episode.
okay. All right.
So the United Health Group is under criminal investigation. Here it is repeated, just in case you didn't get it the first time. Is under criminal investigation by the Justice Department for alleged Medicare Advantage fraud. Thank God for our new Justice Department. Citing individuals familiar with the matter, the outlet said the Department of Justice has been investigating the company since at least last summer over its Medicare Advantage business practices, but the exact criminal allegations are unclear. The report drove United Healthcare shares down 13% just 2 days after United Health said it replaced its CEO with former CEO Stephen Hemsley. That sounds like an actor I used to be aware of. And it suspended its 2025 earnings outlook following an unusual and unacceptable first quarter performance amid rising Medicare Advantage costs. Now, this all took place in May, so this is not a brand new episode or a brand new article, I should say. The recent developments have caused the stock to lose about half its value, down $288 billion within 1 month. That is a big hit. Now, this occurred in May, but once again, this company is just, it's so large that, and everything it does is disgusting in one way or another. We had a big news story a couple of months ago about how they were putting employees in nursing homes in order to convince nursing homes to let patients die in the nursing home rather than send hospice patients to hospitals where they would die, and the cost would be that much more expensive. So they're not looking out for their own clientele at all. It's a very disappointing thing. Let's see. The Department of Justice is also investigating the relationship between United Healthcare and Optum. The agency is suing to block the company's planned acquisition of a home health care provider for $3.3 billion. In addition, the Department of Justice is urging a federal court to allow a decade-old lawsuit against the company to continue, which alleges that the company overcharged the federal government through Medicare Advantage claims. The reported criminal Medicare Advantage investigation adds to a growing list of unprecedented challenges the company has faced over the past year that have heightened public scrutiny around its business practices, including the targeted killing of its CEO and the crippling cyber attack on one of its subsidiaries. So it's the largest Medicare Advantage insurer with 8.2 million members, although I think it lost a bunch of members in this most recent AEP, or annual election period. I think they intended to chase away a bunch of members in plans that they changed in such a way that the plans are not attractive to potential members, or they're not attractive to brokers to sell those plans, or they're not sold anymore. They're withdrawn from the market. They took a lot of actions with a lot of their plans. So I believe their client base has shrunk. And I've got some stuff to go through here that's Medicare related, but I always like it when somebody else does my thinking for me, or as Ricky might have said, my thinning. So I'm thinking maybe I should let Randy take over and pick a category from the list of categories that I send you every podcast recording episode.
I would be happy to do that, Mr. Jones. Just one phrase that keeps popping into my head before I do that. Curly, Larry, and Hey Mo. Why is that? Why is that?
Well, we did spend 2 episodes being told about the Hey Mo prescription drug plan selection service, reasonably priced and as effective as it's possible to be in this turmoil world of Medicare drug plans. And I think that's why it's on the top of your head. Hey Mo is a service that we like.
I'm looking at my list of choices here that you so kindly provided to me. Since we're already talking about Hey Mo, let's talk about drug plans.
All right, let me get the file out that has to do with. Geez, it seems like I've been away for quite some time.
Don't be careful, Doug. You're going to give yourself a hernia picking that puppy up.
I've got to find a better way to get the files prepared for this segment, this selection method, because frankly, I had to get them out of the world's oldest briefcase in order to be able to look at them. Drug plans, here we go. All right.
Well, you know what I always say, or not, I didn't invent this expression, but it is so very true. A clean desk is a sign of mental illness. So you certainly don't have that problem.
No, it turns out I'm one of the most well-adjusted people you probably know. Okay, so I open the file and I have a bunch of articles here. And the top one is I'm tempted to use the top article as our content for today because it's got a picture of a woman on the cover I can't tell if she's a attractive or not, to tell you the truth. I think if you did a little search,
Is there a bag over her head?
not yet. Okay, but the headline is Best Medicare Part D as in Delta Prescription Drug Plans in 2026. To rate the top Medicare Part D drug plans overall and in each state, U.S. News, which I guess used to be U.S. Snooze and World Report, used government data, worked with Medicare experts to weigh certain measures, and adjusted for enrollment. So let's see what this article has to do with selecting a Part D as in Delta prescription drug plan, because it doesn't sound like it's going to be the scientific method that I use or that I suggest be used. So the article goes on to say Medicare Part D is a prescription drug coverage for those who have original Medicare, which includes Part A and Part B, or Medicare Advantage, although you don't get your own free standalone, not free, you don't get your own standalone drug plan if you're in Medicare Advantage. You take what they give you. Enrolling in Part D with your Medicare or Medicare Advantage plan, this article is completely wrong. I don't know if it's this girl or if it's some other person that wrote this thing, but it is telling us twice here in the same paragraph that you can get a freestanding Part D drug plan if you enroll in Medicare Advantage. Not true, not true, not true. Yeah, absolutely. Our Medicare Part D company ratings reflect expert analysis of Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services data on quality, value, and enrollment, so you can choose with confidence. All right, so best overall, top-rated Medicare Part D companies. Best overall, Centene Corporation and Humana. Centene markets the WellCare plans, which in many states are free of charge. They have zero monthly premium. Not everywhere, though. I've got hopefully a new client in Rhode Island. I recommended a WellCare plan for him, and the monthly premium is $16. So best overall, Centene and Humana. Highest satisfaction, Cigna and United Health Group. Now, this is the drug plans. The following companies earned recognition and stand out across multiple measures of Part D performance. Best overall, Centene. Let's see, what else have we here? Highest satisfaction, Cigna. And then, let's see, they also mentioned United Healthcare. Best Part D plans by state. This is completely crazy, and I'm going to explain why this whole article, multi-page article, and obviously they spent some money. The U.S. News magazine conglomerate is way out in left field when they write an article like this. What's the best way to choose? Okay, here's a segment that I can sink my teeth into. What's the best way to choose a Medicare Part D plan? A number of Medicare improvements have rolled out in the past year. No matter which plan you select, it features the following: an out-of-pocket limit of $2,100, cost sharing for insulin products that's set at $35 a month, free vaccines, more free vaccines than it used to cover. So any of the Part D plans are going to have those features, which are very good. How much does Medicare Part D cost? How to compare Part D prescription drug plans. So once again, I'm hoping that they'll come up with the same rationale that I use. As you compare the plans available to you, start by answering these questions. Does a plan cover my current prescriptions, and how much will each prescription cost? Well, now, how are you going to find that out? When considering premiums, deductibles, and other out-of-pocket expenses, which plan keeps my expenses the lowest overall? That sounds like a lot of work, unless you use the method that I use. Does the plan's network include my preferred pharmacies? One of the best ways to save money on your medications is to find a plan that covers your prescriptions for the lowest out-of-pocket cost to you. It's also essential that you make sure you enroll in Part D when you first become eligible. Otherwise, you could end up having a late enrollment penalty. Okay, those are exactly right, except they don't tell you how to do it. So this article is a complete waste of time because nobody's going to sit there. Well, now, a couple of years ago, there were 30 or 32 drug plans available everywhere. Now there are something like 8 to 12. Okay, are you going to get like 12 pads of paper out and start calling these plans and keeping notes on each each pad, which could be several pages of notes as to whether your drugs are covered, which are there pharmacies that are in their networks, and on and on and on. Or are you going to do what I tell you to do in my book, Medicare Drug Plans, a simple DIY guide, which is go to the government website, and I tell you exactly, page by page, screen by screen, how to use the government website to accomplish all of this. This article is crazy because it tells you what your goal is, but it doesn't tell you how to get to your goal. And that's the most important part of the whole thing. If you want to get to the goal of getting the least expensive prescription drug plan that will cover your drugs at your pharmacies, you can only use a source of information that's computerized. Otherwise, you're going to spend the rest of your life trying to find out which plan is best for you. So, Randy, I'm glad you picked this subject because I'm able to get this multi-page article, which is a bunch of garbage, out of my office and into the trash because it's stinking the joint up. Let's see, they got a few other FAQs here. What is Medicare Part D? Okay, we know what that is. It's a freestanding drug plan that's part of the Medicare program. How much is Medicare Part D? With Medicare Part D, costs include premiums, deductibles, coinsurance, and copays. In 2026, the average monthly premium for a standalone Part D plan is $34.50, according to the government. The maximum deductible is $615. Well, I don't see those figures very often. Most of my activity has cheaper and sometimes free monthly premiums, and I rarely see the full $615 deductible applied. What does Medicare Part D cover? It covers both brand name and generic prescription medications. Each company's plan includes a formulary. That's what one of the big things is. Each company is allowed to make its own formulary up, its own list of drugs that they'll cover. And this is why you have to use a computer, because this plan's formulary may not cover all of your drugs, whereas the other plan's formulary will. How do you figure it out? Well, you can spend a lot of time doing research on the internet, talking to people, or you can go straight to the government website. And I would say use my book, Medicare Drug Plans, a simple DIY guide. And you'll find that on Amazon. So then this is on the internet, so it's got a list of all the states. And you click on your own state, and it will tell you what the best drug plan in your state is, purportedly. But it can't do that without comparing your drugs and your preferred pharmacies. So I'm disgusted by that, but I thank Randy for selecting that particular category, because it allowed me to point out that some people write articles that are worthless. And that article would be totally worthless if you read that in a magazine or a newspaper. You would not be able to use it to your advantage, because although it has the end goal correct, which is getting the drug plan that is the cheapest for you for the coming year, it will not help you at all, because it won't tell you how to get there, how to acquire that particular knowledge. So I'm going to end my part of the podcast. Randy, I hear, is going to do a little soft shoe, tell a couple of jokes. But I was going to tell, speaking of jokes, I read something that I got just a short time ago about George Harrison. Now, George Harrison had a house in Maui, in Hana. And so when I was on Maui, I didn't want to go visit George Harrison, but I did take the road to Hana, and which is a road that you have. It's a nice road, very civilized, but you basically have to want to go to Hana in order to get there, because it's a long drive around the eastern part of Maui. But anyway, an attacker broke into his house. You may remember this. And I didn't know he was stabbed more than 30 times. I know this guy had a knife. He was a nutcase, had a knife, and stabbed George Harrison 30 times, according to this particular source. And his wife, Olivia, discovered what was going on and managed to save George's life. I don't know if she distracted the guy or, hit him over the head with a vase or something. But in any event, George maintained his sense of humor. And so two employees came running to help. They were a little late, obviously, after 30 stab wounds. But George was laying in a pool of blood. These two employees who had been recently hired, they were brand new employees, and they were there with George before the ambulance left for the hospital. Those new employees were asked by George. Now he's laying there with 30 stab wounds. He's laying in a pool of his own blood. And he goes, "So what do you think of the job so far?" And then when he was in, when he, when he was in the ambulance on the way to the hospital, George said, "This sort of thing never happens to the Rolling Stones." So by God,
oh, that's good.
I can read the dumbest, stupidest Medicare information from theoretically reliable news source, and I can be angry about it. But George Harrison set the standard for maintaining high spirits in the event or in the face of adversity, I would say.
Oh my God, that is hilarious. Well, guess what, Doug?
Oh gosh, what could I possibly be asked to guess about?
We're out of quarters.
Yeah, that's going to happen. I'm so
Do we
sorry.
have that? Do we have that proposal in front of the board that we might be able to get 35 cents?
Well, we did, but then the board discovered the joys of the Magic Fingers hotel beds.
Oh,
Those things used to be widely spread out through the United States. I know they were in most of the Howard Johnson's motor lodges in this
yeah,
state.
yeah.
And so I think that's where a lot of our quarters are going.
Well, you know what that brings to mind? You remember that movie Planes, Trains, and Automobiles?
I sure do. That's a great movie.
I have to watch that once every year, sometimes twice, because I used to be basically a road warrior, and all of the stuff that comes up in that particular movie is so right on target
Did
that I
you
literally laugh myself sick.
did you ever wake up with your arm stuck between two pillows?
No, I didn't. But I also never had a roommate that washed their socks in the in the sink and didn't tell me.
There are many things in that movie that are classic, and I'm glad you brought it up. It'll give me something to think about for the rest of the day.
Yeah, it's probably one, well, in my world, it's one of the funniest movies I've ever seen. That's why I continue to watch it. So anyway, I'm just going to make one more comment. Curly, Larry, and Hey Mo. You need to write that down and ask what that's all about if you don't know. So here we go. Here is an email address that you need to write down because it's really important. If I was doing it, I would just take a magic marker and put it right on the front of your fridge. DBJ at MLMmailbag.com. DBJ at MLMmailbag.com. You can reach out any time of the day or night to Doug to ask a question. Doug is licensed nationwide to help you with your Medicare supplement planning, otherwise known as Medigap. Go to the website, MedicareForTheLazyMan.com, to keep checking back there because there's going to be some cool stuff going on there after Doug decides how he wants to approach it. And I would absolutely think you're going to have a blast looking at it. So here we go. Last, certainly not last, but not least, we have two things left on the list we'd like you to do. Leave us a review in our content, on our content, and you're wandering through the wilds of the internet because we're in a new year now, and so we need to start attacking. We need to start attacking big, the travelogue people, because we've won against them for years and we just want to keep up the string. Last but certainly not least, thank you for joining us today, especially early in the year. It makes us feel good. And ultimately, you could have been anywhere else doing anything else with anybody else, and you weren't. You were with us, which is exactly where we love to have you. And I'm going to tell you, if you weren't keeping track, you have just spent about 32 and a half minutes with Doug Jones, the anti-insurance insurance guy, originally from Oklahoma, now living in the high ground behind Cave Creek, Arizona, in the Nosebleed Mountains. And as I said earlier in a podcast, he's trying to finish up his private pilot's license, but he had a little bit of mechanical problem with his plane. If you're not familiar with planes, it's a SPAD. Have you ever seen a SPAD? He had a little bit of problem with it, but he was able to stay under 10,000 feet, so he didn't pass out. Good thing, Doug.
Well, thanks, Randy. That reminds me of the opening sequence I used to see on a show all the time. I can't remember what show it was, with a biplane that actually had about 12 wings, and it showed this thing taxiing, and it all of a sudden hit a bump and it completely collapsed.
I remember all the wings just kind of
Yes.
caved in.
Yeah, exactly right. So that could be what happened to my plane. I know the mechanical trouble I'm having is something I'm not able to solve. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us for this 900th episode of the Medicare for the Lazy Man podcast. On behalf of Randy, on behalf of my Canadian cousin or my Canadian nephew, Drew McMillan, on behalf of everybody connected with this podcast, thank you very much for your patronage. And we hope you'll keep coming back for future episodes. Until we see you again, bye-bye.